When we think of modern civilization, we used to count its peaks, technological development of mankind, skyscrapers, satellites, computers, genetic engineering. All this seems to us the unique achievements of our time. Inaccessible to any culture of the past, school textbooks teach us a simple picture of history. Humanity is smooth, climbing from primitive stone tools to modern factories and laboratories. Every generation, according to this picture, knew more than the previous one. And our ancestors were technologically poorer than us for obvious reasons, but reality, which has opened archaeologists and engineers in recent decades, turns out to be significantly more difficult. Then this is a simple school scheme in different regions of the planet. Discovered traces of technology that modern science can't reproduce even today with the entire arsenal, modern materials, tools, and computing. These technologies existed thousands of years ago. Their creators worked without electricity, without numerical control machines, without laser devices and themes, no less what they left behind. Baffles the best engineers of the 21st century. Today I will talk about 7, such amazing technology, and each of them is worth it, to revise our submission about the possibilities of the human mind in ancient times of our planet. Let's start with Damascus steel material, which for more than 1,000 years was considered the most perfect combat metal. Its time blades out. Damascus steel had a combination of properties which modern metallurgy has long considered physically impossible. They were at the same time incredibly sharp and amazingly durable. They could be bent in an arc without breaking. Their edge cut fabrics that fell on the blade from above, without any effort on the part of the swordsman, and most amazing, on their surface showed a characteristic pattern resembling flowing water or wood fibers. That pattern was not drawn or applied artificially. It was the result of the structure itself, in which layers alternate, different density and composition. In the 17th century, European masters tried, copy Damascus steel, and this they failed. In the 18th century, attempts repeated failure again. In the 19th century, German scientist Michael Faraday conducted a series of experiments trying to understand the secret of the composition, and could not. But at the beginning of the 20th century, Damascus steel production finally ceased. Last ones. Masters who owned the technique took their secrets with them. Modern science with electron microscopes established that in Damascus steel, carbon nanotubes and cementite nanofibers present. These structures are formed only with a very specific combination temperature regimes and chemical composition of ore, reproduce exactly the same conditions. So far, no modern metallurgical enterprise technology that existed in medieval India and the Middle East, too subtle for our understanding. And every new decade adds to this mystery all new interesting details and nuances requiring further study by specialists in different fields. Let's move on to the second technology. To Roman concrete. At first glance it sounds paradoxical. Concrete material known to us since childhood. Modern concrete mixes produce millions of tons daily worldwide. What special can be in concrete which 2,000 years, but that's what ancient Roman concrete used. During the construction of the Colosseum, Pantheon, and many Roman aqueducts, continues to stand in excellent condition, and today dome. The Pantheon remains the biggest, not reinforced concrete dome in the world. Despite the fact that it was built in the year 126, modern concrete, for all its advantages, has one serious problem. It gets ruined over time, especially in constant contact with seawater. Modern concrete structures require repair. Every 50 to 100 years old, Roman concrete isn't just preserved. It gets stronger over time. In seawater, and it occur reactions with crystal formation, tubermorite aluminate, which literally fuse the material into a single whole. In 2017, a group of scientists from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology conducted a detailed analysis. Samples of Roman concrete from underwater ports. Results showed that the Romans did not use a special volcanic Huttland from lakes in the vicinity of Vesuvius. Seawater was added to the mixture, and applied temperature modes accurate reproduction, which is not yet possible. Modern builders can approach these characteristics, but do not repeat them completely, and this task remains one of the most interesting in modern construction science, attracting researchers from around the world to explore this amazing ancient technology whose secrets gradually revealed to us through the years' persistent research of specialists. Third technology refers to megalithic construction and related to the city. Sacsayhuaman in Peru is an ancient fortress built by the Incas, or maybe even more civilization before them. The walls of the fortress are made of colossal stone blocks. The largest of them weigh more than 100 tons, is 10 times heavier than a car. But surprisingly, not only that, the blocks fit together with such precision that it's impossible to insert a knife blade between them. They have an irregular rectangular shape. Complex polygonal and faces of one block exactly repeat the faces, neighboring blocks along their entire length. Each block seems to be carved under a unique place in the wall. Modern engineers have calculated that to achieve such precision and fit would have required either the use of laser meters, distances, or years of work. Thousands of craftsmen with constant remeasurement of each stone. But even with modern equipment, reproduced Sacsayhuaman walls failed in the 2010 year. A group of Japanese engineers conducted an experiment trying to create a copy of a small section of the wall using modern stone tools. After 3 months of work, they managed to process only a few blocks, and the accuracy of the fit was significantly lower than the original. How did ancient ant builders achieve such accuracy remains a mystery. There are hypotheses about their use. Extract, able to soften the stone, but reliable evidence. This is not yet, and every new expedition to Peru brings its clarifications and new hypotheses, making this theme one of the most widely discussed in modern archaeology, history of ancient technology. The fourth technology is in Egypt and is associated with the processing of hard rocks of stone at the Cairo Museum of Antiquities. Stone vessels are stored, made in the era of the ancient kingdom, more than 4,500 years ago. These vessels are made of granite, diorite, and other breeds, hardness of which on the scale of Mohs reaches 7 or 8 units. These are materials that cannot be processed with conventional copper or bronze tools. These are the tools the ancient Egyptians had. According to official chronology, the vessels have complex inner shape with a narrow neck and expanding internal cavity. It means that master should have drilled a narrow hole first, and then somehow expand the cavity from the inside, not being able to see what he does. Modern masters, working on high-tech machines with diamond tools and computer control, cannot reproduce the accuracy of the walls of these vessels' thickness. The walls in some places are just 1.5 millimeters with perfect rotation symmetry. British explorer Christopher Dan worked as an engineer in aerospace industry, conducted detailed measurements of several such vessels, and came to the conclusion that for their production required equipment with a level of accuracy comparable to modern precision machines. Like ancient Egyptians created these artifacts without electricity, neither diamond drills nor computer control remains. One of the most intriguing mysteries of technology history, and this mystery continues to occupy researchers from around the world for many decades in a row, not yet finding a definitive and satisfactory answer. Within the standard chronology, the fifth technology refers to ancient China and is associated with the production of so-called magic mirrors. Those are bronze mirrors on the front side of which is applied perfectly polished reflective surface on the back relief pattern. Most amazing. The property of these mirrors is manifested in certain lighting when the sunlight is falling on the polished surface of the mirror and reflected on the wall. An image of that pattern appears on the wall, which is on the back of the invisible side of the mirror. That is, the light somehow carries, through a massive metal disc, information about its back surface is phenomenon has been described in China in the 2nd century BC and for a long time remained unexplained. In the 20th century, physicists found that in the process, making and grinding such mirrors on their face surface, microscopic irregularities are formed repeating relief of the back side. Those irregularities, they are too small to be visible to the naked eye. Enough to scatter reflected light in characteristic directions. Understand physics. Phenomenon succeeded, but there is no manufacturing technology to reproduce. Modern metallurgists have tried different methods imitating temperature regimes and compositions of ancient bronze alloys. Mirrors turned out. But the magical effect did not occur or manifested itself weakly. Ancient Chinese masters somehow knew how control crystallization of metal at the microscopic level, transmitting through disk thickness information about its reverse side. This technology is unavailable today, and even the most modern metallurgical methods cannot repeat it, which is of great interest to scientists working in the field, materials science and history of ancient technology around the world. The 6th technology is in India and is related to the famous iron column in the Delhi. This column, height of about 7 meters and weighing more than 6 tons, was established in about 400 AD. That is, it has been worth almost 1,600 years in the open air in a monsoon climate with heavy rains and high humidity. And that's an amazing fact. The column does not rust at all. On its surface, there is not the slightest trace of corrosion. Although ordinary iron in such conditions should turn into rust in a few decades, for a long time it was considered either a miracle or a hoax. But in the 20th century, scientists conducted a chemical analysis of the column material and found an unusually high content of phosphorus in iron, about 1%, whereas in modern steel phosphorus is considered harmful impurity, and its content try to minimize this. Phosphorus forms on the surface of the column a thin film of iron phosphate, which protects the base metal from rusting. Modern metallurgists tried to replicate this effect, adding phosphorus to iron in the right proportion. Iron is more resistant to corrosion than normal, but still not as stable as Delhi column. Ancient Indian metallurgists of the 5th century AD somehow managed to create the material, superior in anti-corrosion properties, everything produced by modern industry. And they made from this material colossal products weighing several tons, which in itself is a technological challenge for the era in which the melting furnaces were relatively small. And every column study adds new details to this mystery, which remains one of the most intriguing in the history of world metallurgy, and continues to surprise specialists from different countries. 7th, perhaps most amazing technology, is in South Turkey on Göbekli Tepe Hill. This archaeological complex was discovered relatively recently, in the year 1994, and its opening literally flipped presentation of scientists about the capabilities of early Neolithic people. Göbekli Tepe. It is a complex monumental stone structures, about 12,000 years old. That's twice as old Egyptian pyramids and 6 times older, the first known state formations of Mesopotamia, according to official chronology. In the era of Göbekli Tepe construction, people did not yet know agriculture, did not have writing, they did not form permanent settlements. Led a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, traveling in small groups, they had no social organization for large-scale construction projects, but TP exists. Huge stone pillars of that, shaped some of which weigh more than 10 tons, located circles in specially carved rock, platform surface, poles covered, thin bas-reliefs with images of animals, fox, lions, bulls, snakes. The quality of the thread amazes with its accuracy and artistic skill. But the main mystery is Göbekli Tepe. This is a question about how nomads, hunters could organize a construction of this scale, and why did they do it? After the complex was built and used several millennia, its residents purposefully bombarded all the structures, land and gone, kept it preserved for future generations. Modern archaeologists continue excavations and each season brings new discoveries. Reproduce Göbekli Tepe today is technically possible, but it would require enormous resources and for sure coordinated work. Hundreds of masters and every decade brings new amazing discoveries in this field, making Göbekli Tepe one of the most discussed archaeological objects of our time, and forcing scientists to revise familiar ideas about the possibilities of people of the distant past of our civilization. What unites all these 7 technologies is the main thing, the fact that each of them demonstrates the abilities of ancient masters surpassing what we used to attribute to them. They worked without electricity, without modern devices, without computers, but the results of their labor are so perfect. Modern engineers with everything, arsenal of their means, cannot reproduce them. This does not mean that the ancient were wizards or that they were helped by unknown forces. It means that their working methods were based on different principles than ours. They took their time. They passed skill down from generation to generation, and each generation added their experience to the already accumulated. They worked in small groups. Every master knew every stone, every workpiece, every detail. They didn't separate design from execution, how it is done in modern industry, and they had a deep understanding of the materials, which we are just beginning to recover with our analytical methods today. And every new study adds interesting details to this big picture history of human technology, which we still understand only fragmentarily possible. The main lesson of these 7 technologies is that technological progress. This is not one line leading from primitiveness to perfection. That's a lot of parallel lines, each of which develops in its own way. Some lines, interrupted and accumulated knowledge disappears with the last masters who own them. Some lines continue and evolve. Modern technical civilization is very powerful, but she's not universal. In something we went forward, in something behind, and it may well be that in our modern technology, there are nuances that will be lost in a few centuries. And our descendants will also wonder, examining the remnants of our products, how we marvel at an ancient Egyptian stone vessel today, or Indian column without rust is a surprise, normal reaction of any researcher faced with that surpasses his own capabilities. And it shows the true greatness of human skill in different eras of the history of our civilization, developing along complex and not always linear trajectories through many millennia. This does not mean that you need to idealize the past. Masters were not gods, they were people. They learned from mistakes, lost knowledge, restored them again. But they knew what we do not know yet. Create things designed for millennia. Their pyramids stand, their roads passable. Their columns don't rust, their fit. Stones does not require alteration. This is a completely different attitude to production than ours, mass-oriented and fast replacement. And maybe it is the ancient. We should learn this approach to durability and quality, which we have largely lost in the era of disposable things and fast product updates. This is a serious lesson. Modern civilization and its understanding can change a lot in our approach to production, material culture in the coming decades, development of humanity, and search for new ways of sustainable technological development. Each of the 7 technologies we talked about today continues to be studied by modern researchers. Every year there are new hypotheses, new methods of analysis, new playback attempts. Maybe in 20 or 30 years we can repeat Damascus steel. Perhaps we will understand the composition of Roman concrete, perhaps decipher the secret Ying stone fitting, or learn to process diorite with Egyptian accuracy. But even if these tasks are solved, the main thing will remain. The main thing will remain reminder of that the human mind always been capable of so much more than we used to think about people of the past, that technology doesn't come from nothing. They grow from skill, from observation, from patience, and that every vanished technology of antiquity is a lost fragment of the human experience. which is worth restoring, not out of nostalgia, but out of respect for those who walked this path before us, and from the understanding that we are not the first and perhaps not the last civilization that looks to the sky, handles stone, melts metal, and tries to leave something behind for those who come following our paths into the future of our own planet. Filled with so many amazing discoveries and unsolved mysteries, the distant past of mankind